and gentlemen, thank you for taking out time from your busy sessions and joining us today here for yet another exhilarating episode of Women in Leadership Passion. I'm absolutely thrilled to be your host and moderator for this high-octane discussion that will leave you feeling pumped and ready to conquer the world. Passion, my friends, is the fuel that ignites the fire within us. It's that unstoppable force that propels us towards greatness and distinguishes true leaders from the rest. Today, we have gathered some extraordinary leaders who've harnessed the power of their passions and are here to share their incredible stories with us. I want to give a massive shout out and a huge round of applause to our amazing guests here today. Michelle McCoubrey from Bell, Anjali Mehra from DocuSign, and Shylaja Krishnakurup from Verizon. These powerhouses not only discovered their passions, but also set off a chain reaction, inspiring those around them to uncover their own hidden gems. It has been a pleasure interacting with you all, and I'm so excited to have you today to address all of us here at this session. Now, I want to extend the warmest welcomes to our fantastic trio of speakers. Your presence here is an absolute honor. And without further ado, I would really like to start today's session. So how I would want to run this session is I'll ask one of you a question, and I would look forward if the other two of you can chime in and we can have different perspectives. So let's start with you, Michelle. You've spent over 23 years at Bell and have extensive experience in large-scale operational transformation. I'd like you to elaborate on what does it really mean by being driven in your life, not to be confused by being driven by an Uber driver.
First off, Jyotika, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here today. Great introduction, driven by passion. I really love that. So your first question, what does being driven mean to me? And you said in your introduction there, 23 years at Bell Canada, you'd think that by now I'd be bored and would not be driven anymore. But I'm actually a very curious person, and I am driven by finding the answers, solving the next puzzle. Literally at home, I love doing jigsaw puzzles myself with my family, and I'm always looking for the next most interesting puzzle to solve. And early in my career, I started in frontline operations in the call centers, and I really learned a big lesson on the importance of customer service. And so as I progressed through the company, I started to look for roles where I felt I could influence customer service and almost solve those puzzles. How do we get better at this? What's missing? Where are the gaps? And making that kind of my own puzzle to solve. Sometimes it would be through something like project delivery, making sure that we have the right systems or tools for our team to provide for customers. And other times it was leading big operational teams and making sure that they had the right priority on customer service as I saw it. And luckily now I'm in a role where I'm able to influence strategically to say that this is a priority we should put on as a company on customer service. And so I wouldn't say it wasn't always quite so linear, but at a high level, I would say that's it. So I'm sorry, that was a long answer to your question, but I'd say that being driven means finding something that you're passionate about and then seeking opportunities to be involved in it.
Beautiful. That's beautifully put. Thank you, Michelle. Any thoughts, Anjali, Shylaja?
I'm happy to chime in, Jyotika, and again, just thank you for having me here. Quick intro, I'm Anjali Mehra. I work for DocuSign as a Senior Director for Analytics, Experimentation, Instrumentation. And I would just say I've worked within the analytics function for a number of years now, and I still continue to be amazed by how much untapped opportunity we have with data. So to answer your question on what being driven means, I think I resonate a lot with what Michelle mentioned, really what's that puzzle? I think curiosity is a big factor of really what defines being driven. To me, really, there was a great question because I had to put some thought into how do I even describe it? And I tried to find some words. I think for me, really being driven means having a purpose. Like something that gives you meaning, something that makes you wake up in the morning, feel excited, go to work, drive towards a mission and solve problems, right? And problems that you care about and that give you a sense of fulfillment. And that could mean so many different things for different people. But that's the best way I could think of putting words around what being driven means to me.
Great. Finding a purpose for sure. Yes. Shylaja.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Very good morning, good evening. I know people are from different countries. You don't know where they are, but a very good morning, good evening, wherever you are. So to me, First of all, a short introduction. I'm Shylaja Krishnakurup. I've been with Verizon for 25 years. I think that shows like every day there is something new, something. What is driving me today is like I feel a lot of every day when I come to office, I learn something new, right? People used to ask me, 25 years you've been with Verizon, are you not bored? No, not even a single day in my 25 years I felt something boring, right? Because there's nothing monotonous. And with technology, with telecom, you always find a lot of things changing. So I think that's driving me. And I love what you do. When you love what you do, I think you feel like there's a lot of people, everyone tells me you're passionate about the work, right? Because any work I do, I always make sure I love what I'm doing. And that is driving me to continue my job where I am today. Jyotika.
Absolutely. Loving what you do is so important, especially to make you wake up from the bed in the morning and, look forward to a full day of interacting with people you enjoy working with. My next question is to you, Anjali. You've had an illustrious career spanning over 15 plus years, managing product, customer, and marketing analytics, along with software development. What, according to you, are the characteristics or traits of someone who is driven?
Yeah, thank you, Jyotika. And I would say again, a lot of that would be similar to what I mentioned earlier. Now, is really, I think curiosity is such a big element of it. One, I think, as I defined earlier, like it's very hard to really find your passion, right? And then be driven towards that passion. So I think always being open and curious towards, trying different things, experimenting with different things, getting out of your comfort zone. And I think again resonating what Michelle and Shylaja said. So having that, people call it growth mindset these days, but having that curiosity and open-mindedness towards trying different things, experimenting with different things, and then being able to now step back and reflect on what is really that now connects with you, speaks to you, makes you feel alive, and then really make that now your North Star and being just, I would say, madly, passionately driven towards now making a difference and creating an impact area, whatever it could be. It could be starting a business, it could be now a corporate career, it could be writing a book, whatever it is for you. I think that probably defines for me what being driven is. It's a journey and it's a process.
Great, thank you. Finding that North Star, yes, that is extremely important. Michelle, would you want to chime in this?
I love how Anjali talked about growth mindset, because I think that's a big buzzword today. But I do think it's really about, being optimistic, being open to failure. Like you are going to have to try a lot of things, and you're probably going to fail at some of them, but being open to what can I take from this experience? What can I be able to learn about myself on self-reflection, but also about my world around me and my experiences. So I think she nailed it, but that's what I would add to that one.
Great, thank you so much. My next question is to you, Shylaja. Now that we know what it means to be driven and what are the characteristics that a person who's driven shows, you have been an IT transformation leader with over 22 years of experience, and you've also been championing various D&I programs at Verizon. What are you passionate about? Has it always been telecom or something else?
Thank you, Jyotika, for that question. So let me give you a brief introduction about myself, my career. So if you look back, I think it's like almost 30 years back when I completed my engineering. I did my engineering from planning. So I was very passionate about programming, right? I used to love coding. I was passionate about that. But what happened is I was not a computer science engineer, right? I was an engineering technology graduate. So when the campus interview came in, I got into a management consulting company, which is, I had no clue about what management consulting is. I was looking for an IT job, but I did not get an IT job. My mom said, you take it. You go for it. You see it was not easy getting a job, I think 30 years back, right? It's not, you have very few jobs at that time. So I just went in, I took the job, as my mom said. So when I went there, I was just wondering, what am I going to do here? But slowly I learned new skills. It was something completely new. It was about market research, feasibility studies, where then slowly after some years, after some time I started developing passion. I felt, okay, I'm learning something new. I had a very good mentor. So I really started enjoying my work, right? So probably I think 2 to 3 years I was in that company, and I got very good appreciation. People felt I'm passionate about that because I started loving what I'm doing. But after 2 3 years, I got married in between, and I was carrying. So I think those days things are not as flexible as it is today, right? Like I never had work from home. There was no laptops given to you. You had no flexible times. You have to be in the office at 9 o'clock. You have to leave by 7, 8. By the time you come home, I think it'll be very late. So I had to take a break in my career when I got my daughter. So I took a break. So when I took a break, within a month, I realized that's not my passion. Whatever work it is, sitting at home, doing household chores, I did not enjoy, right? I was just waiting to get back to work. So I took some time. I think I was waiting for the support system to be available. So once I made that available, I thought, okay, anyway, I have to start my career all over again. I started learning again programming, right? Because when I left, it was C. The technology keeps, every year you find something new. When I left the college, it was all C, C++. Now it's all Oracle, Java, a lot of new technology came in. So I took that 1 year gap. I made myself learning new technologies. I kept myself ready. I did a lot of hard work because again, taking a break and returning back to career was not again easy those days, right? If you take a break, people don't consider, oh, you have a 2 years break. People are not ready to employ you. So then I did a lot of hard work. I launched a lot of things. Somehow I got into an IT company, IT service company, back into programming. And it was a service company, but working for Verizon was my client. And it's been like from then on, I think it's been a wonderful journey. And like after 2 years, though, like see, even when I joined the service company, I joined as a fresher because I didn't have any prior IT experience. I joined as a fresher, and like within 2 years, my manager, my boss called and said to me, like, you have a lot of leadership skills. So what I learned in the management consultancy that has really helped me here, and I think I got a very big program to lead. He said, you have leadership qualities. I see that though you're a fresher in 2 years, but I felt like whatever skills you have developed has also helped me here as well, right? So that's how my journey has been continuously. So now coming back to your question, that's a little long story. I just wanted to explain.
No, we're all here for long answers.
Yeah, then I think, so what has helped me in the D&I champion, as you said, that has really, because I knew what women went through, the hardships, like what problems you're facing. So in 2014, I think that's when I started leading the D&I diversity and inclusion. And we devised several programs, right? Like say, how do women career returnship program was one thing which I championed, because I knew when women get back to work after taking a break, definitely there are certain people who doesn't have support systems, so they have to come back to work. How do we support them? Similarly, like gradual return to work, like people after maternity leave, how do they extend their maternity leave? How do they work from home? I know today post-COVID, we all have work from home. Before that, we never had work from home here in India, right? You have to come to office. So we gave a lot of those programs. We came up with several programs as part of the DNI, so that it's very helpful for women now to get back to career. So I think that's something which I really am passionate about, the diversity and inclusion. We mentor women who needs counseling. We mentor women in technology. There are certain women who want to go into technology line. There are certain women who want to go into leadership roles. So I think now what I'm passionate about is mentoring people, right? Like after so many years, I think that's something which is really making me, and what I enjoy is when I see how do I grow more women leaders in the organization.
Thank you, Shylaja, for sharing your beautiful story. And one key takeaway from this is never give up and always keep learning. You will find a way if there is a will, and that is beautiful. Thank you so much, Michelle. Now that we're talking about DNI, you are an executive sponsor of the corporate diversity leadership council at BED, and you're striving to create an equitable and inclusive workplace. For you, what does it mean to be a passionate leader, and how do you make sure that the diverse set of voices are driven together for one vision?
Big questions. There's a couple questions in there, so I'm going to dissect them a little bit because I think it's an interesting question. When we talked, the first question you asked me, I talked about, my passions being about solving puzzles and being curious is one of my passions. But if I reflect a little bit, as I've grown as a leader, I've really developed a passion for people leadership and diversity, and not something that I would have said earlier on my career that I was passionate about, but something that I've kind of grown into. And so I'll start a bit on the diversity side. You asked how I build an inclusive workplace. And personally, I try to make sure that we always have a diverse set of voices or a diverse set of people at the table with me when we're making big decisions, big strategic decisions, setting strategy for our team, because I think it's important that we push ourselves to make sure that we've looked at everything from all different angles to make the best decision that we can possibly make out there. And that when you have all of the same kind of people at the table, everyone thinks the same. And so you're not going to really kind of come out to the best decision. So we have had meetings where I've had to say, like, oh, we need to pull in this person before we start this, or I need to have this one person come and join me to this meeting. And I think that's a big thing, especially as women, to make sure that we're bringing in other women or bringing in other diverse voices to the table with us, so that we have a good representation around the table. And then I think from a diversity perspective, there's still a lot to be done out there in recruitment teams, right? We look at reviewing job descriptions to ensure that they're gender neutral, which is a very small thing, but that still needs to be done in a lot of companies. Questioning the qualifications the qualifications that are listed on the recruitment, and whether they're really required or whether it's something that we can train as a company. Ensuring that we have diversity represented in all of our advertisements when we're recruiting out there, and then just good representation when we're doing job fairs and in the interview process, I think helps make sure that we're bringing in the right people so that we can kind of build up that inclusive workforce. And then the second part you asked me was about being a passionate leader. And I would say from my perspective, there's kind of two pieces of it. I think one is the recognition that you need to build up the people around you. And number two is that you need to really set a vision for those people. So on the building up people side, I could probably do a whole hour on this question alone, but in the context of being driven by passion, I think it's really about making sure the next generation coming up behind you is able to find their passion. And for me personally at Bell, we have two big developmental programs that I've been an executive sponsor of and that I'm leading. We have a summer internship program where people are still kind of going through school, but they can come in. And then as well, we have a grad leadership program. Both allow people to rotate through different areas of the company and different positions to really kind of test out what they'd like, and being able to support people, especially early in their career, to be able to test things out. And we talked about growth mindset, figuring out what you like and dislike. That's really kind of a big passion for me, and helping make sure that people have an opportunity to find that. And then on the second piece about setting a vision as a passionate leader, I think it's really about, are you able to take the goals of your organization and translate it into meaningful actions for your employees, for your team, that they can identify with and feel comfortable with, because it's not always an easy thing to do. But if you really take the time to get to know your team and what's important to them, and understand, the goals of your company or the goals of your leaders as well, you can make sure you find that sweet spot and really deliver value for the company, and as well as make sure that there's meaning for your employees at the same time. And that's where you really get that kind of build up of everyone, of passion. You kind of develop the passion with everyone, and we're all kind of working towards that same goal.
Thank you, Michelle. That was a very well articulated answer, and I know the question had so many parts. And thank you for going through each and every part and giving your perspective. So Anjali, that brings me to my next question. What do you feel has been your guiding force or guiding light towards finding your passion? Has it been a person? Has it been just you yourself? What pushes you towards your passion?
That's a great question, Jyotika, and a very, I think, hard one, because there has been not one singular, I would say, person or thing. As I mentioned earlier, it's been a journey, right? So if I go back to my childhood, now I would start with I love mathematics. And I think my dad was my guiding force. Like, he made it fun for me every Sunday. It was just like a game. And I'm like, now I look back, I'm like, how could you do this, right? Like, make it sound so fun. But yeah, I think he really helped in the initial stages of my life. And then I started, as I finished my college, started my first job. I think it was a group of mentors and my colleagues, right? Because I started my career as a software engineer. And then now I think somewhere along the line, I got this inkling. I want to be, there was a nagging voice that I want to be closer to business. And I think there were a group of mentors and friends and colleagues that helped me kind of amplify that voice, right? And find a path to get to pursue a B school and get an MBA. And then I think as I've just kind of progressed in life and career, I go back to it's been a village, right? It's been like now I network. I love networking. I have a peer like now group that I always like now constantly like now just I was brainstorming and talking about things like even right now, what's my next path, right, in life and where my passion lies. It's a discovery process. But one thing I will say, like now in the end, I think reflection, self-reflection is really critical because I mean it gets very noisy, right? You have all these voices, opinions, and people telling you at times you don't know yourself what is your passion and how do you find it. So I think that's one thing I try to be mindful about. How do I step back, reflect, right, and take the time to listen to my own inner voice. What is really connecting with me? What's resonating with me? What's making me feel alive? And that's been, I would say, a good sounding board for me to like now to kind of find that path for me. I'm still on the journey. But yeah, that's how I will put it.
Thank you for sharing that. And inner voice plays a huge role, along with, of course, a lot of times our parents also put us in the right direction sometimes. And Shylaja, what about you? What has been your guiding force?
Some of them resonate with what Anjali just said. For me, I think I grew up seeing my mother. She was a very independent person. She was very career focused. She always tells me like women has to be independent. You need to have your own. You have to have your own financial this one so that you can live be on your own. So that's how I grew up. And then like I think she was the one who pushed me actually even to go to BITS, do their studies there. Though it's very far at those days, many people don't go. She said, go study there, right? I think one of the things is my mother who pushed me to pursue my education and continue doing that one. Other thing is like as what Anjali said, yeah, the one of the other thing is my sister, right? Because when I had my daughter, she said, okay, you don't worry, I'll take care of her. You go ahead, pursue your passion, right? So she took care of my daughter. Sometimes when I go to school, her teacher used to say like, I thought my sister is her mom, right? Because she was there all throughout. She used to take care every time, like hardly because I was always in the meetings and other stuff. So I missed most of the times the parent teachers meeting, but she used to take care. So I think she's another person who helped me actually to make sure I continued my passion. And finally, there are a few mentors, right, in different stages, right? Like we had multiple different mentors who actually help you to guide in the right path. And as what Anjali said, mostly it is your reflection as well, right? Like what is driving you is yourself, right? Nobody more than you know what your passion is, who knows what it is, what's important, what loves you. So I think that's what is the inner self is what is the driving force.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it has to be a perfect balance between, someone from your family who's pushing you, but also it's that inner voice that, make sure that this is more of a marathon and not just a sprint. And you keep going towards finding and building on the passion that you have. We've talked about being driven. We've talked about being passionate. A very common theme is that youngsters, when we are like teenagers, we always we are passionate about something, but we're never passionate about it sustainably. Like today I wanted to be a dancer, tomorrow I want to be an astronaut, or day after tomorrow I want to be an actor, right? So the passions or your hobbies, everything is changing, but nothing is sustainable. How do you feel that yes, this one passion is sustainable? How do you drive that how do you say, how do you make yourself not be confused about the passions that you have, and not to confuse them with just some hobby or something that has come up, but actually build on it over the years? Michelle.
I think it's a hard question to answer because, I think looking back on 23 years of career history, I'm able to pinpoint what my passions are, but I don't think I would have been able to do that early in my career. So I would just say like life is a journey. So be careful that you're not pigeonholing yourself into one specific spot early in your career. Be open to lots of different experiences. I would say as when I kind of was in high school or coming up in university, I wanted to be a tour guide. I wanted to work in travel and tourism or hospitality. I wanted to go all over the world. And my parents were not such a big fan of that. So I would say they kind of pushed me more to, stay in Canada and find something more of a corporate job, try to find something in business. But I would say being authentic to yourself is really important. So that idea of, I really like being around people. So in my career today, I gravitate towards roles where I can be part of a big team. And I have actually had the opportunity to travel quite a bit in the jobs that I've had. So I do seek out roles that maybe have big virtual teams, people that are working in different countries or people that are working across the country that I am in here. I love to tell stories. And I would say that most of my success has actually been because I can tell a good corporate story. And all of those things, I think, looking back, were why I wanted to be a tour guide or why I wanted to work in travel was because of those things. So I've been able to kind of pick those pieces of that job that I thought that I wanted and then translate them to the jobs that I'm in now. So I think that's it. It's a journey, the roles that you're in, you might not really enjoy, but really think about what do you like from that role and what do you dislike from that role. You might be in one that you don't like, and then you're leading a team and you really like that people leadership aspect of it. And then so you say, okay, in my next role, I'm going to find a different people leadership role where I can still satisfy that piece of it that I really liked, but I'm going to try to do something different or work on a different side of the business or work in a different industry.
So tying back to what you initially said, it's more like a puzzle and you're piecing the puzzles together over a period of time.
Right. Aren't puzzles great?
Yes, they are. I have 1,000 pieces waiting for me till we solve. But great. And what you said was very pertinent, and that takes me to a follow-up question. Is it and Anjali, please feel free to answer this. Is it something that you can just stumble upon and have, or can it be learned over a period of time with discipline and dedication?
Yeah, and but again, no, it could be either to answer, right? There is no one definite, no clear path, as maybe you are hearing now from all of us, right? The themes that are coming out really is the journey, is the discovery. The path is different for everybody. So I think being open to that, I think it is critical. Now, just talking about my path, it's been very non-linear, very zigzaggy in fashion, right? So maybe just talking about my journey. So I started, as I mentioned, I love mathematics. So when I was in school, a natural extension of that was computer science, right? And I loved computer science. And I'm like, yeah, and that, that was late 90s. I'm like, yeah, I want to be a computer. Everybody was becoming a computer engineer. So I'm like, that's my path, right? And I did computer. I did my master's in computers, and I started my career as a computer software engineer. Loved it. And I still love programming. But now then is when I got again exposed to other colleagues who were more on the front line, right, and really moving now talking about business metrics and the impact and the growth and the P&L. I'm like, oh, that seems exciting. So I did an MBA, and again now I would say again, I didn't know after MBA really opens up the pathway, but you don't know, it actually becomes harder. So marketing happened to me, and I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't like finance. It was more like rule of elimination. Okay, I don't like finance, so the other option is marketing. So let's go there. And I loved it, right? I was doing leading marketing function for a couple of IT companies, and then I had the marketing budget, and I loved pieces of it, like marketing analytics, which is leads and pipeline, and really now. But there were also other elements which I like to PR, now, and even branding, deciding which billboard should have our ad, right, driving through the city and stuff like that. That was all a good mix. But then I was like, there's certain elements of it, right, that's really drawing me more. And then I was missing my software engineering life too. I want to really find a blend where I can do business and kind of tech, and then analytics just happened to me. So I kind of stumbled upon it. I'm like, wow, this is the perfect mix, right? And since then I'm no, really, I get to no, try my hand at no, data. I can get a little data sciencey and no, do some ML and algorithms, but I also step up. And I think to Michelle's point, storytelling, I love that. But I think no, I use data to really storytell and drive an impact to the business, which is where I was initially now my first phase of my career I was driven to. So I would say I definitely there was a piece of stumbling upon it, right? But also it was a long non-linear path where I found this. So yeah, so I think it could be either way. Going back to my theme, the key is to be be open, right? Try different things. Don't be afraid. I think being bold and not be afraid of failure is a key piece. Something now I hear often in the Silicon Valley here, they say fail forward, right? It's okay to fail as long as now you're learning from it. I mean, every experience is a learning. So yeah, I think having that mindset, now it's okay to try different things. You may fail, it's okay to fail. And really, I mean, like now how you look at failure, it may not even be a failure. But yeah, that's my long-winded answer to your question.
No, I'm so happy that, you know, we're also talking about not just the successes you found through passion, but also the failures. That the fact that it's okay to fail. You know, it's okay to not be, sometimes not be the best, and just make do at times. But at the same time, until and unless you don't have those experiences, you will never really realize what you are passionate about or what you really want to do. So it's more about, you know, openness, being okay to fail, always putting that puzzle together. But a very important another question that comes up, and Shylaja, I'd love you to answer this, is that over a period of time, your passion has become your career. You've been able to do that. But a lot of times, people's passion is not being able to, you know, be translated into a career. They are just, you know, doing what they're doing just to make do, to pay the bills, keep the house running. But sometimes, you know, there are people who are struggling. Sometimes pursuing your passion can, you know, take a toll on your near and dear ones as well if you're not able to find its true potential. So what do you think is more important, making do, paying the bills, or actually striving towards finding your passion, even if it, you know, is at the cost of your loved ones?
Yeah, just one thing before I answer that is, right, for all the young kids, I just want to say it's okay. I think you asked, like, people are very confused about their passions, right? One of the things is it's okay if I don't know my passion as well, right? People get worried, oh, I don't know, I've done passion. Because at the kid's age, like going out of college, out of the schools, they sometimes don't know what their passions are. So it's perfectly fine, right? Passion, again, passion is not fixed, right? It keeps changing. Today I want to become something, like, for example, my daughter, when she was in 8th class, she wants to become an engineer. So I put her in IIT coaching classes, 9th and 10th. Then in 11th, she said, no, I don't want to become an engineer. I want to become a doctor, right? So it keeps changing, and some people don't know what they want to do, right? So they are just lost in this whole thing. They don't know what they want to do. So passion, I think you can always develop, right? Passion is something which can always develop new skills, right? When you start learning new skills, you develop a passion towards it. It's not that I always should know what I'm going to do. And there are very few people who know what their passion is, right? If you ask them, like after the college, what their passion, very few, I think, know what they're passionate about. And a lot of others, they go with the flow and they develop these skills and they become passionate. After some years, they find something else and they become passionate about it, right? So I think absolutely it's fine not to know what you're passionate about at this stage, right? You'll automatically develop the skills. So other thing what you asked is, like, one of the things is, I know if you're very clear about your passion, right? Like if you know this is what I'm going to do, you can go for it. But I don't think you should wait for a long time, right? If you keep waiting for, okay, I want to do this, and you keep on waiting to do that, I think you're wasting your time. Sometimes it might take a long time. It may affect your career. After some time, you might get you will give up as well. So I think what we should do is, I think one of the things is, whatever comes to you, I think if you start liking, if you start developing that skill, if you start loving that job, I think that's what is going to help you. But over a period of time, if you want to get, if you are passionate about something, you can get there. But don't keep waiting for it, because sometimes it might take time. In this whole journey, sometimes of waiting to get your passion, you might get frustrated, you might get stressed, you'll have a lot of other commitments. So I would say is just go ahead with what you have, learn, love what you're doing, and I think go ahead with that. One day you'll find your true passion, right? That's what I would say.
Great, thank you so much. That was very beautiful, and yes, you go along the way. There's never a right answer. It's always about the journey. Then the next question, like all of you to answer, because this is something about, you know, leaving your legacy. So tomorrow, say, if you win a lottery, right, and you decide that you want to go for and just not do the day job. So what do you want to leave as your legacy, as your personal brand? I'll start with Michelle, then we'll go to Anjali and then Shylaja.
Okay, so I win the lottery. That's what I heard. What do I want to leave as my legacy? It's so hard because I don't think I'm going to leave a legacy, but I do hope that I'm able to change the corporate landscape just a little bit to make things a bit more inclusive, a bit more collaborative. I'm a very collaborative leader, a very supportive leader, a passionate leader. And I think if you look back over many, many years, especially in telecom, which was very male dominated, it wasn't so much that. It wasn't a very collaborative environment. It wasn't a very supportive environment. It was very, very competitive. And I hope that I've been able to change that landscape just enough that there's enough women coming up behind me that feel supportive and that can lead in a different way, and that people can recognize you don't need to always fit, this perfect vision of what a strong leader can be. A strong leader can look at like many very different things. So that's what I hope I leave behind in my team here.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you. Anjali.
No, thanks. I like how you frame the question, Jyotika. Like, no, if I win a lottery, because usually it's like, oh, if you get hit by a bus, what are you leaving behind?
No, we're manifesting good things here.
Yes, yes. No, yeah, no, I think, no, it's again, no, I think it's a great question and a very deep question. Like, no, that's something I think as human beings, right? All of us now strive to like, now really do, like, what's the purpose here? What do we leave behind? I don't think, again, I have all the answer yet, but and it keeps changing too, right? So like I would say a few years ago, I would have said, really, I want to like now really change how people think about data and the impact, right? And not just think about the like now, I don't know, reporting, but literally like drive business impact. But I think over years, it's really as I've built and grown teams, and I've learned that how fulfilling that is, right, to impact people's not just their careers but their lives, right, and the future generation, right, with that cascade. So I think that's where is the legacy I want to leave behind. A little bit to Michelle's point, like now really now building those teams now, and data also tends to be a little bit like now traditionally a non-diverse, certain kind of skill sets, a certain kind of folks are more dominant there. So how have I made it a little bit more diverse? How have I made the workplace more collaborative? Because that's one thing I think I feel I've got a lot of feedback that that's where I do excel. And then how I've groomed these people and their careers and their lives, right? Now, not just as a manager, but as a mentor and as their guide. And then I would love to just sit in my vacation house and see how they are creating the impact, right? And how they are paying it forward and building the next generation of leaders and so on. So
Beautiful. Amazing. Shylaja ma'am.
Thank you. I think that was a very interesting question, Jyoti. I've already started imagining going to the hills, being there, and having my vacation. So coming back, yeah, the legacy what I want to leave behind is like whichever team I've been in. Like one thing I always get this as a feedback also is I've always built a strong culture, right? See, that's my I think that's my strength as well as what I think, because like when I build one is the trust, right? Like whichever team I want to make sure there's a trust between the employees, between the supervisors and the teams, right? That's one I'm very passionate about and very strong. Very open and transparent communications, right? That is very important, right? There should be a very open communication. The communication cascade should happen at all levels. Very inclusive workplace. Right. So these are some of the things, no favoritism. There shouldn't be any bias in the teams, right? So I always ensure that I make this as a strong thing whenever I form a team, I ensure there's a strong culture built. So that's something which I feel I won't leave behind.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, collaboration, bringing the diverse set of voices together, communication are really true traits of being people leaders. And that is what you exuberate every day. And that is what, we're also getting the feel. And thank you for sharing this. I know this was really personal and it's more about your personal brand, but I'm so happy that you were able to share this. And, we did talk a lot about mentorship. Shylaja, you said that you are very interested in mentoring folks now as well. And do you believe there is value of mentorship in building and promoting passion?
Absolutely, right? Because to me, it has helped me, right? In different stages, I've been helped by mentors. I have had coaches who help me to self-reflect on what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, where I need to focus on. I think definitely it will help everyone, right? At every be it a college fires, be it at every level. Even today, I need mentorship, right? At every stage, we need mentorships. We are looking for mentors. And I think that's why, like, we are focusing. See, as I told you earlier, I'm actually an executive sponsor for the Women of the World. This is all about mentoring women to do the personal branding, to be creative thinkers, right? So how do we look at different aspects? So I do a lot of mentorship program. One is on the leadership role. We also do because we have very few women in the technology, right? Because a lot of people after the stage they all get into the leadership. We don't see many women in technology, so we do mentor them to see how do they get into what technical roles as well. And I think we do speed mentoring, multiple different kinds of mentoring we do at Verizon. So that's something which is extremely important for you to pursue your passion.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Shylaja. Michelle, over to you on mentorship. We did discuss a lot while we were preparing for this session, and you did throw a lot of light about the sort of mentors you've had in Bell and the mentorship activities you're doing. So
Yeah, like I would say everything that Shylaja just said, I would say I totally agree with everything she said. I think the one piece that you don't realize sometimes is the people that you're working with and the politics that are happening in your role sometimes can play into your view of things. And so you need a mentor to talk through that and make sure that you're not making decisions just because of a political influence or because of the people around you. And so I found that it's really helpful to talk to someone. And then another thing that comes in a lot of times, especially for women in business, is this idea of imposter syndrome. You know, women feel like I'm a fraud, that I have this role, or I don't deserve it. And it's not true, but it is something that we almost put on ourselves when you really become successful. And it happens to anyone at any level that you can imagine. And having a mentor there to help give you strategies to come out of that and figure out what's really kind of playing into it is really, really helpful at any role. And so just building that trust with someone that you know will be there as you move through your career is really just amazing and helpful, and helps you find your passion and helps you through your career. And it might change through the course of your career. You might need a mentor early in your career for one thing, and then as you transition, you might need to seek a different type of mentor or somebody different to help you out with different strategies as you move through your career. So I myself mentor several new grads coming into our team. I also mentor several leaders with a lot of experience who are just looking for different skill sets that I can help them with through that journey right now. Some of it is about finding their passion. Some of it is, some of the big skills that I have, like storytelling or building collaborative teams. And that's it, is when you have those special skill sets, being able to share it with the next generation down and, really, really helping them come up. For me, that's really fulfilling. So I find I fulfill myself as being a mentor, and then also helping them as well.
amazing, great, thank you. You talked about a very important topic, imposter syndrome, and a lot of it also, sometimes stems down from a lack of self-confidence. That was I the one who should have been there? There could have been someone who's much better than me. Am I fit for the role? That constant questioning, and I'd probably like to ask this from Anjali, that have mentors helped you in the organization, in your workplace? Have mentors helped you to become more confident in the work that you're doing and give that positive affirmation to you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I cannot say enough about the importance of mentorship. I would also add, like, now, I mean, we could have whole 1 hour session on that. Like, no, I would like to add sponsorship also. I think especially for women and underrepresented groups. And a lot of this ties together. I think what Michelle mentioned, the imposter syndrome, right? Like, no, feeling you don't belong. A lot of times because you don't see people like you, right? So yes, so I would say in a nutshell for the maybe audience, I see some questions also coming through on, like, no, what can women do more? I would say, like, when I was at Wayfair, I started a Women in Analytics program, and we started a mentorship program through that, right? Because I think that's the easiest way to find a mentor that looks like you, that and at a more senior role and can help you guide on that path. So I would definitely encourage everybody to, if your companies don't have it, maybe start a formal program. A lot of times, so that's one route. I would say just make it as diverse as possible. It doesn't have to be a mentor in your org. And again, like for women, it doesn't have to be a women. And I would actually encourage, get a diverse set of mentors. If you're a woman, right, like to make sure you have some male mentors as well, because you get different perspectives. And reach out. Like a lot of times it's a little awkward to say, hey, do you want to be my mentor? You don't have to approach it like that. I think it could be an organic conversation saying, hey, I'm just I really like your leadership style. I like your storytelling. Can we meet like once a month, right, for coffee, and I can learn from you. I think other thing I mentioned now, having a sponsor is also very critical, again, for women and underrepresented groups, right? And the way I kind of differentiate is mentor, yes, like it's really kind of like a coach, right? The sponsor is one who opens up the opportunities for you, who makes sure that you get the right visibility in the right project, somebody who believes in you and gives you that that extra, I would say, opens up opportunities. And I think I have definitely valued, and I'm very thankful to the sponsors for my career who've now opened up those opportunities for me and helped me reach where I am right now. So I would say definitely reach out. I mean, we all need that village. We all need that network. So definitely very important.
It definitely takes a village. Thank you for putting that thought of sponsorship as well. And I think I'll give a huge shout out to Sumit and Debbie for starting the Women in Leadership series as well. It has been such a good way of getting to meet passionate women leaders like yourselves, and learning from them. So, and we're in season 4 now, and big shout out to Ashmeet also for taking, always being there and getting everything done. Now, as we come to like the last leg of our webinar, we have about 9 minutes to go. I see there are so many audience questions that have been pouring in, and I want to make sure that we're doing justice to that. Just a last question before we get on with the audience questions is, what is that one message or advice you want to leave behind with the audience today, who want to join the telecom sector, who want to join the technology sector? So Shylaja.
Thanks. On that one, Jyotika, the telecom industry, as you know, is one of the most diverse industries in the world. You see today, everything with the mobile, you can do everything, right? With 4G and 5G, endless opportunities are coming in. I think there's a lot of learning, everything, as I told you before, both in the telecom, because I'm working both in the telecom as well as in technology sectors. I find every day there is something new coming up, right? A lot of learnings, technology is changing, right? Every day you see cloud. Earlier, right, from where I started to today, I think from mainframes to Java, today you see cloud, you have like data analytics. I think there's so many things that is changing, the AR, VR. Every day you feel like there is a disruption that's happening. There's so many. So I think this is the best place to be in. If you really have a growth mindset, if you want to really learn, I think this is the right place to be in.
Great, thank you. Telecom is the right place to be in. Do you agree, Michelle?
I do agree. I think telecom and tech, to what Shylaja just said, it's changing so fast right now. And for anyone up and coming and looking to get involved in it, I would say nobody else knows everything. So just be really curious, ask lots of questions, be open to different experiences, and then be authentic to yourself and think about, what did I learn from that experience? What did I like and dislike? And it applies definitely in telecom and tech, but for anything out there, I would say be curious. You'd be surprised what doors just curiosity will open, and you might surprise yourself on which experiences you might like.
Amazing, thank you. Anjali, yes, more from you as well.
No, I am not from the telecom sector, but now I will give maybe some generic advice. I've been in tech, right? So tech, yes, I think there's so much growth and so much opportunities. Sky's the limit. I think my now piece of advice for everybody in the audience here, be bold, be ambitious, dream big. Like now there is, I would say, as I mentioned, sky's the limit in this space. So dream big, don't give up on your dreams and your passions. And I think the most important thing, enjoy the journey. Like now, I know at times we focus too much on the destination, and you will get there and destination keeps changing. So, but really enjoy the journey and dream big and be bold.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Dream big, be bold, all about what we're talking here on Driven by Passion. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for honoring us today and for such an engaging conversation. Ashmeet, over to you. Why don't you let us know about some of the questions that are coming in from the audience?
I've been running through a lot of questions, and I see that we have touched upon a lot of topics already. So I'll try to mix a couple of questions together and still keep the theme of passion intact. I'm sure each one of you has faced many challenges through your journeys so far. And can passion help you break through some barriers? Can passion take you places where your dedication or discipline can't? That's one of the questions. So Michelle, do you want to go? Do you have a thought of mine?
Yeah, can passion take you somewhere where discipline can't? I think so. I think it's really about not holding yourself back and really just, being bold and going for it and push for it if it's something that you really want. Yeah, I think that's really it. Like if you really kind of push yourself and that's something that you want, you can go there. And like I said, you look at the job descriptions, I don't think you have to fit it perfectly. You can be trained, and through asking questions, you can learn. And especially with the world changing so fast right now, it's not as rigid as it used to be. So if you're open to learning and growing and developing, then you have that passion, you can do it.
So ma'am, I see you nodding. Do you resonate with that? Do you have a different opinion?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what Michelle said, right? Like if you're passionate about something, first of all, go for it. Be bold, right? Take risks. Sometimes you need to take risks. I think just go for it. But I think, as Michelle said, passion keeps changing, right? So you might have to develop new skills at every different stages. You might have to develop new skills. Keep learning. Have that curiosity. Have that growth mindset.
Anjali, do you want to add something?
Yeah, no, I think I with everybody now. I think while discipline now is kind of now key also, but now when days now there are good days and bad days, right? And I think passion is that factor and driver that will keep you going even when you're low on motivation, discipline, and don't feel like doing it that day, right? So yeah, I think it's a mix of both.
Okay, and there's another question. I'm gonna again switch it because we've covered part of it. You all are parents, and you'll have a lot of mixed opinions about what your kids are doing right now, right? Someday they're playing with a guitar, or someday they're drums, and they want to do something new every day. What's a good way to encourage their passions and make sure that they're going towards the right path without making a choice like they're 25 and they're standing with the guitar and saying that I want to just make music and not money? So do you have, what do you think? Anjali, do you have something in mind?
Well, my son is 4 years old. His passion is just trains. It was cars like a few months ago. So I'm still not there. I think no, but I think to your point, I mean, yeah, no, I think again, like it goes back to, right, like now, try different things, right, and then I think you expose your kid to different things, right? Again, like now, like we mentioned, like now they're on a journey as well to discover what resonates with them, expose them to different things, right, and encourage, right, and you will see that coming through on where they excel and where their interests lie, and yeah, I think there is nothing wrong with making music, right, and writing a book, and it doesn't have to be a traditional, like now, I would say, career that typically, like now, most of us came or went through. So I would say, yeah, be open, give them different options, and let them figure it out.
Michelle, do you have a different point of view? Do you agree?
I agree. I have 2 young kids, so they're too young to really push them into anything. But I do think there is a discipline element there. Like you want to expose them to a lot of things, but then don't let them give up too easy. Make sure that they do have that element of discipline and really following through with something, especially as young kids. We don't want them to give up too easily.
Yeah, I can add up because I have a daughter who is a doctor now. She is like 27 years. So I think as what both of them said, I have exposed her to everything, right? Because she used to go for music, she used to go for dance, she used to go for swimming. Because I want to know what she's good at, right? Because we gave her exposure. At least we were eliminating, okay, she's not interested in this. She doesn't like this, right? But I think giving that exposure is good. But then don't overdo it. Sometimes I thought like, okay, am I overdoing sometimes giving them too many things, right? Like making them, but then you will definitely know what they're interested in, right? Over a period of time, giving them an exposure so that you get to know, okay, fine, what they are interested and what they are not, right? I think that's something.
Right, great. That makes sense. I think there's one more question. I just want to touch it because I feel like it's very exciting. I hope nobody's running out of time. But we are all passionate, right? And we tend to overwork. We give more to our passions and our laptops than we really want to. But how do you manage your life and work while being a passionate person? Anjali, do you want to start?
I would say outsource out of it, right? As much as you can. But not resonate with you, right? So it could be whatever. So I would say you cannot have it all. No, you have to find that balance. Yeah. Something has to give some days. Now your career gives some days, your family now or something. So, but yeah, I think I think try to take the guilt out of it, right? If you are going with what you really resonate with, and other things, I would say outsource. I mean, now and get help.
Michelle, do you want to add something?
I think that was well said. Ask for help when you need it and make time for the things that are important to you. So for me, exercise is one thing that doesn't feel like it could fit in, but I do prioritize it in the mornings to make sure that I, box myself into that time that I have for myself. So I think that's my quick summary there.
Rajama, do you want to close in?
No, I think making the right choices, making the right priorities. I think every day you need to decide, right? Whether it's my personal, professional, where you need to focus, which is important, which is prioritizing, making the right choices. I think that's I think you can balance it out, both your personal and your professional.
Prioritize. That's lovely. Thank you so much, everyone. Shylaja, do you want to close in the session? Sorry, Jyotika. Jyotika, do you want to close in?
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Anjali, Michelle, Shylaja, for sparing time and taking the audience through such an engaging and inspiring session. You all definitely have given us a lot of food for thought, and somewhere or the other, I'm sure the youngsters here are now more passionate about what they want to do. Probably will they'll say that it's okay to fail, it's okay to be ambitious, it's okay to be bold, it's okay to always keep solving those puzzles, and it's okay to take time for yourself as well. It's not just about the work, it's not just about the family, it's also a lot about the self, because that's what keeps you going. And thank you so much. Yes, to everyone in the audience, thank you for attending. We'll be back soon with another session of Women in Leadership webinar. Bye-bye. Have a great day.